Caoirleach, and thanks to Sinn Féin for bringing forward this motion on a very important subject of how mortgage holders are being absolutely creased with the mortgage interest increases that they have experienced as a result of the rising ECB rates, but also, and this is critical as far as we're concerned, the profiteering of the banks. And it is for that reason why we absolutely think that the Sinn Féin proposal is far superior to the do-nothing approach of the government that essentially says there's nothing we can do, these are decisions of the ECB, they're decisions of commercial banks, investment funds, there's nothing we can do about it. And so ordinary working people are seeing massive increases in what they have to pay to service their mortgage for, reasonably average mortgages that people might have. People can have seen up to €5,000 and €6,000 increase in the costs that they're experiencing over the last year or so. That's a huge hit for people on top of all of the other cost of living increases that people have suffered: rising energy costs, rising food prices, rising costs on just about every front. And while we welcome, therefore, any attempt to give relief to mortgage holders, we don't actually favour this as the way to do it, because it's not dealing with the fundamental problem, which is the profiteering of the banks and the questionable policy of the European Central Bank in hiking interest rates over the last period to deal with the inflation crisis. Now, I won't spend too much time on the bigger picture of why we have a sort of rising costs on a whole range of levels, but suffice it to say that it mostly, in broad terms, comes down to the decisions of big companies, big corporations, who are trying to maintain their profit levels and therefore increasing costs or increasing prices in the same way as they decide production levels and the supply of key resources based on their private commercial interests. They make decisions to reduce supply, increase prices and so on in order to ensure that their profits stay up. That is what we need to deal with. And of course, on every single front, this government, and by and large the European Union, or governments generally, are not willing to do what's necessary is to deal with the root problem of profiteering. In other words, if landlords are charging extortionate rents, limit their ability to charge those rents. Introduce caps on rents. If house prices are extortionate, which they are, and totally unaffordable, intervene and control the price of housing to ensure that it is affordable. If energy companies, as they are charging extortionate, are bringing in extortionate increases in electricity or gas prices, don't let them. Introduce controls and caps on what they are charging. This can be done, it has been done, and it should be done, but the government doesn't want to do it because ideologically they believe in the market. They don't want to, or are unwilling to, intervene in the market. And the same goes with the banks and their profiteering and the profiteering increases in mortgage interest rates. So what's needed is caps. Simple as that, caps. And what we propose is that you impose a cap of 3%. They can't charge interest rates higher than 3%. That will deal with the people who are being absolutely creased, who are on the trackers that are now paying 6 and 7%, but also even the people on the fixed and variable rate who are paying in excess of 3. It will give them all relief. That can be done, and it should be done. And of course, if you do that, it will also have another positive spin-off effect, is you'll probably drive out the vulture funds. That would be a very good thing. The vulture funds, some of whom aren't even borrowing off the ECB, but are using the ECB increases as their excuse for hiking up rates, let's drive them out. And let's use the banks that we still have a majority sharehold in to establish a public banking system where the priorities of the banking and financial system are directed towards the needs of our society, and ensuring that money is available at a price that can actually deliver affordable housing for people who are buying homes. It may be of interest to the Minister to remind the Minister that even the US Fed has a broader mandate in ensuring the affordability of housing than the ECB, whose only mandate is to control inflation. That's a mistake on the part of the ECB, and the ECB should have a broader mandate to be concerned with the cost of housing, and we should certainly do that. So in our view, we should cap mortgage interest rates at 3%. And the other point to remember is that given that ECB rates have increased, the banks are making huge additional profits on the back of people's deposits at the moment, because they are charging, they are giving far less in interest for ordinary customers' deposits that they are getting from those deposits sitting with the ECB, where they're getting the ECB rates. So there is a huge surge in profits for these banks, so there is plenty of scope to cap mortgage interest rates so that people aren't suffering these huge increases, and for that to be absorbed by the excessive profits that the banks are making. I'm not necessarily saying that would cover all the costs of capping rates, but it would cover a very significant amount, but it also, as I said, should be linked to developing a new not-for-profit public banking model in this country, because it is absolutely clear that the existing banking model is failing, either in terms of profiteering banks charging people these excessive mortgage interest rates, much higher, significantly higher than even the average in the rest of Europe, or in the case of other banks just leaving because they're not profitable, like the Ulster Bank, because they decide we can't make enough money here, we'll just dump 1 million customers who may have been banking with us for generations, we'll just dump them because we don't really care about them, because the banks don't care. The banks do not care about their customers, they'll leave them, they'll screw them, it doesn't really matter to them. So we need a different type of banking model, which makes all the more the folly of the decision of the government to start selling off further shares in the Allied Irish banks, and steadily, as you've done with the Bank of Ireland and other banks that we had effectively nationalised, after nursing them back, bailing them out, nursing them back to profitability. As soon as they start to make profits, we hand those profits back to private shareholders rather than retaining those institutions and actually controlling their behaviour and ensuring that their interest rates and their general objectives are actually about meeting the needs of our society for affordable housing and fair and reasonable access to credit. So obviously our proposal is, you would no doubt deem a more radical proposal, but I certainly think it is the only one that is going to deal with the systemic problem that we're facing at the moment, which is rampant profiteering by financial institutions, by vulture funds, and generally by corporations who benefited and are benefiting from the cost of living crisis imposing so much suffering on ordinary people.